Hi students, today we're just going to have a really quick look at creating a name sampler in Illustrator. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select an A4 here, and I might make it, it doesn't matter if it's horizontal or portrait, I might make it portrait just for this one. And CMYK color, it's probably best if you choose RGB color, but it doesn't matter too much. So I'm just going to go create. That's good. And now I've got my page here. So it's time to start adding some text. So we're primarily going to be working with text in this one. So I'm going to type in my name. Okay, and you can see there, I just clicked once with my text tool. I didn't drag out a square. And now you can see it's set in Myriad Pro, which is the default kind of font in Illustrator. I might make it a little bit bigger and start to stretch it out as well. So I want my name fairly big on this. Now, if I hold down the Shift key, it'll stop me from accidentally squashing my type. So we want to avoid this kind of crazy type squashing, but keep the font as it was sort of intended to look. So holding down Shift helps us to do that. Now I'm going to start to duplicate this up so I've got some extra type to work on because I want to use different fonts. So I can hold down Control. Actually, Alt is what I want to hold down on this Windows machine. Or you can just copy and paste Control C, Control V. And you can duplicate that as well. So you can go Control D to duplicate. That's a good way to go, depending on whether you duplicated or copied. So now that I've got some type here, I can start to mess around with my fonts. Now, I've got over here, it tells me what fonts I'm in. So if you haven't selected it, I like to have in my workspace, I like to use Essential Classic because it gives us kind of everything that we might need in the one spot. And now I can roll down here. I can start to select some interesting fonts, okay? So I'm just going to roll through. Then each of these, I'm going to select another font here. And I'll just roll through with my cursor. Handwriting one's interesting with the sort of lines between it. What else have we got here? Let's scroll through. Well, if you script there, it's big fat sort of script. Let's see what else we got. Let's roll down a bit further. This is another specialized one. And we'll go for one more. That's good. That's an interesting looking font. Moon Rising. Okay, so once I've got my fonts here, then I might like to start to think about my color schemes. So a good way to go is we can grab our rectangle tool and I might just draw out a rectangle. And that's good. Maybe I'll draw it out like about this big for starters. We can see that it's black. So I can double click and I can change my color here. So double clicking on this square over here. So I can go, yep, thanks very much. And we can see that at the moment, that panel's sitting on top of that other type we created. So I might just come over here and go Object, Arrange, and I can go Send to Back. Send to back, send it all the way to the back. And you can see immediately that what it's done is it has given me, I can now see my type. That's good. We could also see that the black type over the top looks, it's a little hard to read. So I might double click on this and change on my type to white at the moment. Okay, that's good. So we can start to work on things. So I might just take the size of this up a little bit and fit it into this space, just thinking how that might work. And then I've got some different fonts over here. Let's just grab this basic myriad. We'll get rid of that for the moment. So I might push these over, and I might take this font, and maybe I'll make this one big. So remember, hold down Shift, and I'm going to set it maybe in the middle here. That's looking interesting. And then I might take these other fonts. So this one here. So the sampler, we're just aiming to show different kinds of experiments with our letter forms. So this, I might change the spacing of it. So I might come down to here, set it at 200. I want it to go right across, so I might set this at, say, type in a custom 400. Ooh, it still could go a bit further. What about 600? That's looking more like it. Okay, and I could shrink that in a little bit. Oops. That just sorted there. And then I might have some other letter forms down here. So I might sit this one down maybe in here. Oops, I might just shrink that a little bit. That's it, shrink it down. So I'll sit that one in there. And then I might sit this font over in here. Good, and I might just space it so that they're sort of aligned straight down off these letters, and that is the basis of a type sampler. So we can see that we can start getting some good experimental stuff. I'll get rid of that original myriad because it's really quite horrible. Another thing that you could do is getting a bit more complex is I'm going to go Control C, Control V, so I can grab more of this type, and I can make it, if I want to, I could make it really quite large. Oops. Control 0 helps us zoom back in on that central area. And I want to send it to the back. So I'm going to go Object, Arrange, send to back. That's good. And then I'm going to send the red panel to the back as well. Object, Arrange, send to back. That's good. Now I've got this white text here, which is quite big. So what I might do is I could change the transparency of this font if I wanted to. So I could knock this down so the white is sort of transparent. And you can see here that as I adjust it, we can see it just exists in the background. So it just sitting in there. That's good. I might just set it on a bit more of an angle, just so it's creating a bit of like extra texture on that in the background. So that's good. So I'm pleased with this now. And we can also see how these letters are hanging out onto this grey space. That doesn't matter, okay? So what we see in our file is just within this shape, and these bits don't matter. They're just hanging out there. So that's all pretty good. So now I'm just going to, oops, my mouse is a bit sticky. I'm just going to save it. So I'm going to go save as. I'm going to save on my computer. And I'm going to save to, I might save it into downloads, but it's up to you. Save it somewhere maybe a bit better than your downloads. I'm going to change this to an Adobe PDF, and I'll give it a name. So I'll call it Chris Name Sampler, and you can see PDF is all good. So I'm just going to now click Save. And now I've got, there's a few options here. We don't really need to touch them at all. Preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. That makes the file bigger, but it means that you can open it again in Illustrator and edit it. So I usually leave that checked on unless you're sending files away to someone else. So save that now, so PDF, and it's done. That is our name sampler done. So we've got some different bits of type there. We've got sans serif, we've got some script type font. I've spaced out these letters using the kerning tool, which is here under character. I think I didn't show just while we're working is that down under window, down the bottom, there's a type menu, and that can give us a floating version of that of the character window if you want it. But I prefer not to probably use that one. And that is it. Okay, so give it a go.